today we are proposing to cover 2/3 of Ukraine's financing needs for the next 2 years. So this is 90 billion euros. The remainder would be for international partners to cover. And today we are tabling 2 solutions to member states to agree on. The first solution is EU borrowing. That is basically raising capital at the capital markets and using the EU budget as a guarantee for that, and hand this capital as a loan to Ukraine. This solution must be established by unanimity. And the second solution that we are proposing today in the legal text is a so-called reparations loan. Here we would use the cash balances from the mobilized Russian assets in the European Union. We propose to cover all financial institutions that have accumulated such cash balances. And these institutions would have to move the cash into the instrument of the reparations loan. So, in other words, we're taking the cash balances, we're providing them to Ukraine as a loan, and Ukraine has to pay back this loan if and when Russia is paying reparations. Here the main goal is to further boost Ukraine's defense industrial capabilities and integrate their capacities into our defense industrial base. And here we would use a so-called Cascadian principle. In other words, the funds would be used predominantly to produce and purchase from Ukraine and the European Union and so-called EEA EFTA countries. But if we have urgent needs that cannot be met by Ukraine or the European Union, then we allow with this money the purchase of these urgent needs from outside. Now, we had an intense discussion also on the position of Belgium, where Euroclear, the main source, is situated. We have listened very carefully to Belgium's concerns, and we have taken almost all of them into account in our proposal that is today on the table of the reparations loans. We have very strong safeguards in place to protect member states and to reduce the risks as much as possible. We have created a very strong solidarity mechanism where in the very end the Union can intervene, because we want to make very sure to all our member states, but specifically also to Belgium, that one thing is for sure: we will share the burden in a fair way, as it is the European way. Finally, with the reparations loans, we also aim for emulation among the friends and international partners of Ukraine.
Bart de Wever is still not convinced by what he saw. He said Maxime Prévost, the foreign minister, has a feeling that Belgium hasn't been heard. How do you answer to those fears, to those worries that stay? What would happen if Belgium still needs to be retaliated by Russia on the treaty?
Maybe really to reiterate, when designing this proposal, we had been taking Belgium's concerns very much in mind. That's why it comes with a strong safeguards and solidarity mechanisms, and we are introducing also safeguards against possible action of Russia against non-sovereign assets in Russia or third countries, also allowing for offsetting any action then against Russia's non-sovereign assets in the territory of the EU, so providing additional safeguards in this regard.
Julia.
Julia Payne from Reuters. I was wondering if I could ask about the U.S. attitude to your decision to use the assets, as Trump was keen to use them in the peace negotiations with Russia. Have you spoken to Trump about it? What is the U.S. administration's view on your proposal?
Yes, we have informed the U.S. administration I've spoken, for example, to Scott Bessent that we are planning right before today, that we are planning on developing a system of the reparations loan. It was positively received. I've also informed the others who have potentially immobilized Russian assets. And the construction is in a way that it invites others also to join with their immobilized Russian assets, so that they can contribute also to the financing of Ukraine and contribute in the way the reparations loan is working.
With regards to that previous question, we know that Bart de Wever said in his letter that he was concerned that by using the immobilized assets in this way, that it would undermine peace because it would remove one of the elements of leverage that Europe has and that the world indeed has to get Russia to the negotiating table. Do you buy that argument? Will using these assets imperil the potential peace deal, should there be one? Or do you have a different view on that?
So I think that this reparations loan, let's assume it is put in place by the co-legislators, will contribute positively to peace negotiations, because it is a leverage that makes very clear that we are in for the long haul with Ukraine. Russia has done everything to prolong the war and is so far not willing, for example, to come to the negotiation table that President Zelensky constantly offers, and President Putin does not show up. Therefore, it is a very clear message also to Russia that the prolongation of the war on their side comes with a high cost for them.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Commissioner. Wish you a good afternoon.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.